It seems like AI is everywhere these days. It's like from our phones to our cars to even those Netflix recommendations that always seem to know what we want to watch even before we do. It's pretty crazy, right?
But I think it's so fascinating about all this is that a lot of people, so many people, are already using AI in their everyday lives without even realizing it.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's becoming so integrated into our daily lives that we don't even notice it.
Right.
Okay, so for our listeners who may not be as familiar, let's maybe just, you know, uh, start with the basics. What exactly is AI?
Well, AI is essentially all about creating computer systems that can do things that typically require human intelligence. Tasks like learning from experience or understanding or responding to language, also like recognizing patterns and even making decisions.
So it's like computers trying to think like humans, is that right?
Exactly. And that's why AI is having such a big impact on so many different fields.
Now, I know we were talking a little bit before the show, and you mentioned different types of AI. Can you maybe break those down for us?
Yeah, so you have narrow AI. This is the type that we see the most these days. And it's designed to do very specific tasks, like recommending products, filtering spam emails, or even driving a car.
Okay, so that's like the practical stuff, the AI that's actually, making our lives easier right now.
Right, exactly. And then there's general AI. Now, this one is still theoretical, but it's the idea that AI could be like as intelligent as a human across a wide range of tasks. It would be able to like learn and adapt to new situations, solve problems creatively, and maybe even have something like consciousness.
Wow, that's like some pretty sci-fi stuff.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely still in the realm of science fiction. And then you've got super AI, which goes even further. This is the idea that AI could surpass human intelligence in every way imaginable.
Okay, so that's the Terminator scenario, right?
Pretty much. But it's important to remember that we're nowhere near that level of AI development.
Okay, good. That's reassuring.
Yeah, no need to worry about robots taking over the world just yet.
So, for this deep dive, we're going to be focusing on narrow AI. The kind of AI that's actually impacting our lives in the present moment.
Exactly. The stuff we can actually learn about and even start using today.
Now, a question for you. Why should someone bother learning about AI? Like, what's in it for me? What's the benefit for the average person?
That's a great question. Because AI is not just for, tech people or computer scientists. It's becoming important for almost everyone. One big benefit is job security and career advancement.
So, you're saying that AI is actually creating jobs?
It's more like AI is changing how we work, so those who understand how to work with AI will have a huge advantage. Think about it. As AI transforms industries, those who know how to use these tools, how to leverage AI, they're going to be much more valuable to employers.
So, it's not about being replaced by AI.
No. It's about adapting and using AI to become more efficient.
Yeah.
And, just better at what you do.
Right. That makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense. It's like adding AI to your toolkit, your professional toolkit. Now, is it just about jobs? Or are there other benefits to learning about AI?
Oh, there are tons of other benefits. For instance, learning about AI can also help you make better decisions in your everyday life. You know how we were talking about AI being in our phones? A lot of that is about AI helping us make decisions. Like AI tools can analyze your data to help you manage your money better, track your fitness goals, or even find the best products for your needs.
So, like a personal assistant, but way smarter.
Exactly. It can help us make more informed choices, which is, I think, pretty valuable in today's world.
Totally. Okay, so we've talked about the different types of AI and why it's a good idea to learn about it, but where do we even start? It all seems so complicated.
I know what you mean. There's definitely a lot of information out there. But honestly, you don't need to be a coding whiz to get started. The most important thing is to approach it step by step.
Okay, so step one.
Step one is all about building a strong foundation. Before you jump into building AI models or writing complex algorithms, you got to understand the basics. Like what are we even talking about when we say AI? What does machine learning really mean?
Yeah, a lot of people get those terms confused.
Right. And then there's deep learning, which is a
Yeah.
whole other thing.
Yeah.
So step one is really about getting clear on those key terms and how they all fit together.
Okay, that sounds like a good starting point. So define some of those terms for us. What is AI? What is machine learning? And how does deep learning fit into all of this?
All right. So AI, or artificial intelligence, the big umbrella term, it's about creating machines that can do things that we think of as requiring human smarts, like problem solving or understanding language.
Okay, I got that. Now, what about machine learning?
Machine learning, or ML, is a part of AI. It's about teaching computers to learn from data without having to program every single step. So instead of giving the computer specific rules, you feed it a ton of data and it figures out the patterns and makes predictions based on that data.
So it's like the computer is learning from experience, kind of like how we do.
Exactly. Now, deep learning is a more advanced type of machine learning that uses something called artificial neural networks. These networks are inspired by how the human brain works. They have layers of interconnected nodes, kind of like neurons, and they can learn really complex patterns.
Deep learning, huh? Sounds intense.
Yeah, it's pretty powerful stuff. It's what allows AI systems to do some pretty amazing things like recognize images, translate languages, and even generate text that sounds like it was written by a human.
Okay, so step one is all about wrapping our heads around these core concepts: AI, machine learning, and deep learning. So, what about step two? What's next?
Step two is where the fun begins. You're going to start playing with AI tools. The best part is you don't even need to know how to code to start experimenting.
Wait, so you're telling me I can actually start using AI before I learn all the technical stuff?
Absolutely. There are so many easy-to-use AI tools online, and lots of them are totally free. You can start using them today.
That's pretty cool. Can you give me some examples of what kind of tools we're talking about?
Sure. One of the most popular tools right now is ChatGPT. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I've heard of ChatGPT. That's the one that can like write poems and stuff, right?
It can do that and a whole lot more. It's an AI chatbot that can have conversations with you, answer your questions, summarize text, and even translate languages. It's a really great way to see the power of AI in action.
That's really cool. What about, are there any tools that are more visual?
Oh, yeah, definitely. If you're more into art and design, there are tools like Midjourney and DALL-E 2. These tools let you create images based on text descriptions.
Wait, hold on. So I could type in, I want a picture of a cat riding a unicorn on the moon, and the AI would actually make that image for me.
Pretty much, yeah. It's a really fun way to see the creative potential of AI.
Okay, that is super cool. What about AI tools for work? Are there any that can help me be more productive?
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's Notion AI, which is really helpful for, summarizing notes or brainstorming ideas and even writing blog posts. And there's Grammarly, which you've probably heard of.
Oh, yeah, I use Grammarly all the time. I actually didn't realize that was considered an AI tool.
Well, it is. It uses AI to look at your writing and suggest improvements to your grammar, your spelling, and even your writing style. It's a pretty amazing tool.
So, step two is all about getting hands on, playing around with these AI tools and seeing what they can do.
Exactly. It's the perfect way to get a feel for how AI works before diving into the more technical side of things.
This is a great place to pause for today. We've covered a lot in this first part of our AI deep dive. We've defined AI, we've explored the different types, and we've discussed why learning about this technology is such a good idea. And we've outlined the first two steps on your AI learning journey: building a solid foundation and then experimenting with AI tools. It's a good start.
And remember, you don't need to be a tech expert to get started with AI. It's becoming more accessible every day.
So stay tuned for the next part of our deep dive, where we'll go a little deeper into machine learning and those next steps on your AI journey. Last time we talked about, what AI is, the different types, and why it's worth learning. Now let's get into the nitty gritty. How does AI actually learn?
Well, that's where machine learning comes in. Remember we talked about it's like the core of how AI actually learns from data.
Right. Instead of like programming every single decision a computer makes, the computer can learn to make those decisions by itself based on data.
Yeah, exactly. Now, there are a couple of ways this learning happens. One way is called supervised learning. It's kind of like teaching a dog a new trick, you know.
Yeah, I like where this is going.
So think about it. You give the dog a command, like sit, and then you give it a treat when it does it right. Over time, the dog learns to connect that command with the action.
Oh, I see. So with supervised learning, you're giving the computer labeled data. It's like this is the input and this is the output you want. And then it learns to make predictions based on that data.
Exactly. Imagine you're making a system to identify different types of flowers. You give the computer a bunch of pictures, each labeled with the right flower name, like rose, tulip, sunflower, and so on. The computer learns to spot the patterns in the pictures and their labels, so then it can predict what kind of flower it is, even in a brand new picture it's never seen before.
That makes sense. But what about when we don't have all the answers? Like, what if we want the computer to find patterns on its own?
Ah, that's where unsupervised learning comes in. This time it's more like giving the computer a jigsaw puzzle, but without showing it the picture on the box. The computer has to figure out how the pieces go together based on their shapes and patterns all on its own.
Oh, that's interesting. So we're not telling the computer what to look for, we're just letting it go and explore the data and find whatever it can.
Right. And one way this is used a lot is in something called clustering. The computer can group similar things together, even if we don't know beforehand what makes them similar.
Okay, so could you give me a real world example? How is that useful?
Well, let's take Netflix. You know how they recommend movies and shows you might like? They use unsupervised learning to group users who have similar tastes. So basically, you get recommendations based on what other people who like the same kind of things as you are watching.
Oh, that's really cool. So it's like they're finding my movie twin somewhere out there.
Aha, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Now remember earlier we touched on deep learning, which uses those artificial neural networks. Do you want to get a little deeper into that?
Yeah, definitely. That's the one that's kind of based on how the human brain works, right?
Yeah, you got it. Imagine a network, kind of like a web, of interconnected nodes arranged in layers. And each connection between those nodes has a certain strength or weight.
Okay, I'm trying to picture it. So data flows through this network, and these weights change as the network learns. The more layers you have, the deeper the network and the more complex things it can learn.
That's a good way to think about it. But how does the network actually learn? How do those weights get adjusted?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. It seems a little magical.
Well, it's a process called backpropagation. Basically, the network makes a guess, a prediction, based on the data you feed it. If it gets it wrong, it figures out how wrong it was and then adjusts the weights of the connections to do better next time.
So it's like the network is learning from its mistakes.
You got it. Just like when we practice a skill, the more we do it, the better we get, and we make fewer mistakes.
That's pretty mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Now, you said earlier we don't have to code to start experimenting with AI, but if we want to really get serious about machine learning and build our own models, then coding's a must, right?
You're right. Learning some basic coding can be super helpful if you want to really dig into AI. And for AI and machine learning, the go-to language is Python.
So Python is the key to unlocking the AI world.
You could say that. Python is versatile and easy to pick up, even for beginners. It's really good for working with data, which is what AI is all about. Plus, there's a huge community of Python developers. That means tons of resources and libraries to help you get going.
Hold on, libraries, what are those?
Think of them as collections of code, pre-written code, that you can use to do common tasks. It's like having a toolbox with all the right tools for building your AI models. Some of the popular ones for machine learning are TensorFlow and PyTorch.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture. So Python's the language, libraries are the tools. Now we need some kind of like blueprint or framework, right? Is that where AI frameworks come in?
Exactly. AI frameworks give you a structure and tools to build and train your models. They take care of a lot of the complicated stuff behind the scenes so you can focus on the creative parts of building AI.
Okay, and you mentioned TensorFlow and PyTorch before. Are those like the top dogs of AI frameworks?
They're definitely two of the most popular. TensorFlow was made by Google and is known for being really powerful and good for large-scale projects. PyTorch, from Facebook, is known for being more flexible and easier to use, especially for research.
So how do you choose?
It really depends on what you want to do with AI. If you're just starting out, I'd say try both and see which one clicks with you better. And don't worry, there are tons of resources and tutorials for both online.
Okay, so let's say we've learned some Python, picked a framework, what's next?
Now comes the really fun part. It's time to start building your own AI projects.
That's what I've been waiting for, but what kind of projects can someone who's just starting out actually do?
There are a bunch of really cool projects you can tackle, even as a beginner. You could start by building a simple chatbot. Remember ChatGPT? Well, they have something called the ChatGPT API, which lets you build your own chatbots.
So I can make my own chatbot that can talk to people.
Exactly. You could train it to answer questions about a specific topic, or give it a personality, make it funny or serious, whatever you want.
That would be so much fun. What about other projects?
Well, another fun project is building an image recognition model.
Image recognition, isn't that what lets computers identify like objects and pictures and stuff?
Yep, that's it. You could train a model to tell apart different flowers, or even make a system that can find faces in a crowd.
Wow, that sounds pretty advanced.
It's not as hard as you might think. And there are some cool tools that can help, like Google Vertex AI and Runway ML. They offer what's called AutoML, which uses machine learning to automate the process of making and training your models. So even if you don't know all the algorithms in detail, you can still build your own AI.
So it's like AI building AI.
In a way, yeah. It's making AI way more accessible to a lot more people.
This is all so fascinating. We've covered so much, but I feel like we're just scratching the surface. AI is huge.
It is huge. And it's changing so fast. But don't worry, we've got one more part of our deep dive to go.
So stay tuned as we explore how to keep up with the AI world and what the future might hold for this amazing technology. All right, welcome back to the final part of our AI deep dive. So we've explored the different types of AI, the benefits of learning about it, and we even took a deep dive into machine learning. But now I'm curious, how do we keep up with this crazy, fast-moving world of AI?
Yeah, it's true. AI is changing at like warp speed. But staying up to date doesn't have to be overwhelming.
So where do we even start?
One of the best things you can do is really immerse yourself in the AI community. There are so many like online forums, social media groups, even local meetups. It's a great way to connect with other people who are into AI, share what you're working on, learn from each other.
So it's all about finding your people, your AI tribe.
Exactly. Places like Reddit, they have these dedicated subreddits, for machine learning and AI. You can ask questions, get feedback, and stay on top of what's new. Twitter's another great place to follow people who are like the big names in AI and see what they're talking about, what research is happening, that kind of thing.
Wow, so social media can actually be useful for learning about AI.
Oh, absolutely. And then, there's always online courses and tutorials. Platforms like Coursera and Udemy offer a ton of courses from the basics to more advanced stuff like deep learning and natural language processing.
Yeah, I've taken some of those. They're great for like a more structured learning approach.
For sure. And if you're more of a visual learner, you got to check out YouTube. There are tons of channels that explain AI concepts in a really clear and engaging way.
Okay, so there are tons of resources out there, but with so much information, how do we know what to trust? How do we filter out the bad information?
That's a good point. It's super important to be like a critical thinker when it comes to AI information. You want to look for sources that are credible, unbiased, and up to date. Check out the authors, see if their information is backed by research, and make sure it aligns with what you're trying to learn.
So it's like being a smart consumer of information, basically.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask questions. Like, if something doesn't make sense, reach out to the AI community or look for more information from different sources until you feel like you've got a good grasp on it.
Okay, that makes sense. So all this talk about AI is making me think about the future. Where do you see this technology going?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, right? What's exciting is that AI is becoming more and more integrated into our lives.
Right.
The apps we use, the cars we drive, the way we work, it's changing everything.
It's like AI is slowly becoming part of like the fabric of our lives.
I think that's a great way to put it. And as AI keeps evolving, we can expect to see even more amazing applications. Healthcare, education, transportation, entertainment. AI is going to touch everything.
It's both exciting and kind of scary at the same time, right?
It is. That's why it's so important to, be curious about AI, but also to think critically about it.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of AI, what's the one key takeaway you want our listeners to remember?
If I had to sum it up, I'd say AI is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used for good or bad. It's up to us as individuals and as a society to make sure AI is used to benefit everyone.
That's a good point. We all have a responsibility when it comes to AI, whether we're learning about it, using it, or just talking about its impact on the world.
Absolutely. AI is not this like predetermined thing. It's a story that we're all writing together. And that's what makes it so exciting.
So, to our listeners out there, we encourage you to keep exploring the world of AI. Embrace the challenges, stay curious, and keep learning. The future is out there, waiting to be shaped. And you never know, maybe you'll be the one to write the next chapter in the story of AI.